Hello everyone, welcome back. Today again we will start with another chapter, that is chapter 11, National Movement First Phase. Okay, so when India attained the second half of the 19th century, what happened was we could see a lot of political changes in the environment of India. Okay, and which also led to the starting of the Indian National Congress, which later on became one of the main group, to fight against the struggle for independence. Okay, number one, when the first topic is rise of nationalism. What is nationalism and how did it rise? Okay, nationalism means when people of a particular country or people of a particular state, when they have the common ideas and aspiration, to change a country, for the betterment of a country, is called as nationalism. Okay, when people come together with the same idea to transform the country into a better country, it is called as nationalism. Okay, people, what they did was they began to look out beyond their regional boundaries. Okay, they began to think of India, India as one, and they started to fight for the freedom of the country. Okay, so that is nationalism. Okay, and it began to rise up in India after it attended the second half of the 19th century, and it began to spread at large. Next, we have the discontent against the British. Okay, so the Indians were not happy with the British. Why? Okay, because the British exploited Indians at a large scale. Okay, so what happened was all sections of the society, they had to suffer. Why? Because the peasants who were working under the British had to pay huge amount of tax. Okay, the artisans who were working before the British arrived, their business was going well, but when the British arrived, what happened? British started manufacturing their goods at a very large scale, which ruined the life of the artisans. Okay, so the factory workers, when they brought the factories in India, Indians were employed, but they were not given full wages. They were given very low wages, which were not able to sustain their life. Okay, and the British did not encourage agriculture as well as industries in India. They only thought of India as a raw material, acquiring raw materials from India so that they will benefit the British people. Okay, so these made Indians to hate the British at large. Okay, so the British, the real idea was to extract all the things from India in order to gain benefit. And in return, Indians were becoming poorer. They were dying at large because of the poverty that they were in. But the British were happily draining the wealth of India, which created hatred amongst the Indian, against the British. The Indians generated hatred among the British because of this reason alone, which led to the people, to rise up for independence. Okay, moving on, political, administrative, and economic unification of the country. So when British came to India, their sole purpose was draining away the wealth of India. But what happened when they came to a country like India? It was ruled by kings and queens. Okay, so what happened? In order to colonize this, what happened? They slowly by slowly started taking away the lands of the Indians. Okay, in return, what they did was they began to administer this place. Okay, they started giving out laws which should be followed by the people. Okay, and they began to administer the country of India according to their will. Okay, and they adopted administrative measures which had to be followed all over the Indian states and Indian regions, and these were all uniform. Okay, economic life in India also became interlinked. Why? Because the British already set up a monopoly of trade in India. So what happened? It began to interlink from India to different countries, began to interlink. Okay, so what happened was the British introduced modern industries. When they introduced it, they started building up industries in India, and people from all parts of the country began to work in these industries as well, because cottage and textiles industries were crumbling down because of the modern industries. So what happened, by working, when people in India started working, traveling, okay, what happened, the caste differences they had, the community differences that they had, the regional differences that they have, okay, all began to vanish. People began to unite together. Okay, what happened was they began to unite together, okay, and they had a feeling of solidarity and togetherness, okay, which also lead the Indians to fight against the British because of this unity. Okay, so slowly by slowly the relationship began to build up, okay, and the hatred towards the British also began to build up, okay, through these means. Okay, and also this led to the people to fight against nationalism in India. Okay, next we have the spread of modern education. Okay, so when British introduced modern education in India, what happened was it also generated nationalistic feeling, because when people got educated, when people started receiving education, okay, they began to learn about what happened in other countries. They began to study about different revolts and revolution which took place, okay, which gave them an idea, okay, of an nationalistic feeling to fight for their country. Okay, so the British, what they did was they introduced modern education to India. Okay, and what happened was they wanted to prepare the Indians. Okay, after educated them, what they wanted was they wanted the Indians, okay, to work at low posts. Okay, they wanted Indians to occupy the low posts, which they were not able to do because they didn't want to bring a huge amount of British people to India to work for these low menial jobs. So what they did was they wanted to educate these people, okay, and they will not spend money in bringing these people from British. Okay, they will educate the Indians itself and give them the jobs, okay, which are of low post. Okay, and that is how it went about. Okay, and so, okay, the main motive of the British, another motive, okay, was the British thought, okay, if they educate the Indians, then their thoughts and ideas would come in line with the British rule. Okay, and they would become supporters of the British rule in India. And also, since the educated Indians will be working under the British, they thought that, okay, they thought that the Indians would fully support the British in whatever they were doing. But however, it did not go that way, because once Indians started acquiring and getting educated, what happened, they learned about equality, they learned about freedom, they learned about all the wars that were fought, okay, in terms of the American and the French Revolution, which really inspired the Indians at large. Okay, and so what happened when they came to know about freedom, equality, and those wars which were fought in other countries, they began to criticize the British government, telling that why are they capturing India and taking away the wealth of India when India was supposed to be for the Indians. Okay, so they began to criticize the British at large. Okay, and the education that they gave, okay, the English language which they propagated or they taught the Indians was a unifying force among the Indians. Okay, and which led, okay, the people to rise up as well as spark against the British government. Okay, so we can just see here that the educated Indians protesting against the British people. Okay, next we have the role of press. Press played a very important role during this time, because during that time, what happened, there was no telephone, there was no easy communication available there. So press was the easiest means to reach out to the Indian people, because the press was the thing which highlighted about the British government, which highlighted about what the British were doing. Okay, so it made people aware of what was going wrong in India. Okay, so the press played a very important role. Okay, and so with due course of time, what happened was newspapers both in English and vernacular languages, that is in the native languages, began to be published. Okay, so this newspaper gave out clear cut instructions or what the British were doing against the Indian. Okay, which made people to be united, as well as to spark an idea of nationalism. Okay, but what happened, the British, when they saw this, what they did, they tried to ban both vernacular as well as newspapers. Books, newspapers, they tried to ban it because they were spreading ill about the British people. However, this did not work. And it went on for a long time, uniting the people of India, giving them the idea of nationalist feeling. Scholars and writers, such as Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Rabindranath Tagore, Subramanyam Bharati, and Bhardendu Harish Chandra, they were some of the writers and scholars who wrote profusely about the British rule in India. And also they were the one who arose the feeling of Indians in their writing, in their literature work, such as their fiction writing, essays which they wrote, in patriotic poetries that they wrote. They portrayed the idea of freedom, they portrayed the idea of nationalist feeling, which started a fire amongst the Indian people to fight against the British. Next is the immediate factors which made Indians to rise up against the British were what happened was in 1870s the spirit of national identity had taken roots in the midst of the people. So the people already had the idea about the nationalist feeling, nationalist idea. So what happened was the viceroy, the viceroy during that time was Lord Lytton. What happened was he intensified or he created anger among the Indian people towards the British because of some of the things that he did. The first was, what he did was the import of duties. The import duties or the import of good. When things were being brought from UK, tax were imposed on them when the things were being brought. But when Lord Lytton, the viceroy, he said that the people who bring goods from other countries need not pay for the importation goods or importation dues or taxes. They will not be allowed to pay importation tax, which ruined the Indian textile industry. Because slowly by slowly, when this was removed, a large number of manufactured goods began to enter into India, which hampered the Indian industries. And also, what happened was, secondly, he made Indians to pay against the war which was fought in Afghanistan. Indians were often used for paying British debt. So what they did was they made Indians to pay for the war which was fought in Afghanistan. And again in 1877, when India was suffering from famine, when Indians were not able to cultivate crops because of crop failure or because of drought or because of different reasons, or maybe because of flood. When India was facing famine, what happened was Lord Lytton held a lavish durbar, means kind of a party, held a very big durbar where he spent a huge amount of money instead of spending it on the Indians who were suffering from famine. And so with this, it created anger among the Indian people. And it also, what it did was, it also introduced a Vernacular Press Act of 1878, where vernacular newspapers were restricted to be published, were not allowed to be published because they were giving out images of nationalism. They were giving out ideas of people to protest against the British, because of which he passed the Vernacular Press Act of 1878. Also, an Arms Act of 1878 was being passed, where no Indian was allowed to possess a gun or arms and ammunition. Okay, and if people were found guilty for it, they were punished at large. Okay, so these were the reasons which embarked anger amongst the Indian to fight as well as protest against the British rule. Okay, moving on, we have the formation of the political association. Okay, after 1850s, what happened? Indians began to form political association groups. Okay, Indians began to form small groups, okay, which worked for the welfare of the people. Okay, the first was the Bombay, okay, was the British Indian Association, which was formed in 1851. Okay, following to that, it had groups, okay, such as the Bombay as well as the Madras Native Association. Okay, many associations began to rise up between 1870s to 1880s, okay, such as the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, okay, the Indian Association, the Madras Mahajan Sabha, Bombay Presidency Association. Okay, all these associations came up in India, okay, in order to bring out something for the people. Okay, mostly these association were a group of educated Indian people, okay, who belong to most of the upper sections of the Indian society. Okay, so what did this group do? Okay, this group, they wrote petitions, okay, requesting to the government to reduce taxes, because Indians were paying huge amount of tax, okay, and discriminatory practices. Okay, because in the job sector, in the job scenario, Indians were given low posts. Okay, even if they were educated, they were given low posts, the work of clerks. Okay, and so they wanted this to end and give equal position to both the Indians as well as the British. Okay, introduce administrative reform and give Indians get greater role in administration. Okay, their main aims for these groups to be formed was to remove tax, to give equal policies, or give equality among both the Indians and the British. Okay, and also to give administrative reforms, give Indian people the chance in the administrative sector as well. Okay, whereas, okay, even though they formed such kind of committee, okay, and they sent such kind of petitions, their petitions were always rejected by the British government. Okay, and what they did was they began to fight profusely, okay, in terms of protesting against the British government and asking them for their rights. And so, okay, with due course of time, Surendranath Banerjee, okay, who was also a pioneer of such kind of association, okay, what he did was he brought people from all this committee and association together for an all India National Conference, okay, which was held in Kolkata 1883. Okay, so Surendranath Banerjee called all this association from different parts of India in order to have a conference in Kolkata in 1883. Okay, so here the conference was successfully held, okay, and also conveyed another conference. Okay, in the following years, in 1885, another conference was held in Kolkata. Okay, till this we will be discussing today. We will discuss about the next topics in our next class. Thank you and have a nice day.